Hey everyone, it's your girl Charnel, aka Oh So Limitless. Today is going to be a super casual video where I'm just sharing my summer reading list. I have some books that I'm reading as a therapist to support me in my own professional development, specifically around trauma. Those books are not only for therapists, they're also for individuals who just want to learn more about trauma. If you've experienced trauma on your own, these would also be great resources for you if you're with a partner who's experienced trauma and you want to just understand more of the reaction that comes up or defense mechanism. Any of that information, these books would be helpful for you. And then I'll also be sharing just some leisure books that I want to get through this summer as I'm getting out of this reading slump. So I'm going to actually start off with the books that I'm reading to engage in understanding more about trauma. And so the first book is called Complex PTSD, which stands for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. From Surviving to Thriving. And so I'll read the description. I highlighted some of the key points just so I can have a shorter summary so that you guys could identify, is this something that you're interested in learning or reading, picking up on your own or not. And so a lot of the books, actually, they're on my iPad instead of a physical book, just because I find it easier to read on my iPad than having to carry around a different book every single time that I'm out. I'm currently reading multiple books at the same time as well, so that's kind of why it helps to have everything on my iPad. So the first book, as I mentioned, is called Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving. And it says, I have complex PTSD, which is CPTSD, and wrote this book from perspective of someone who has experienced a great reduction of symptoms over the year. The causes of CPTSD range from severe neglect to monstrous abuse. Many survivors grow up in houses that are not homes, in families that are loveless, as orphanages, and sometimes as dangerous. If you felt unwanted, unliked, rejected, hated, and or despised for a lengthy portion of your childhood, trauma may be deeply ingrained in your mind, soul, and body. This book is a practical, user-friendly self-help guide to recovering from the lingering effects of childhood trauma and to achieving a rich and fulfilling life. It is copiously illustrated with examples of my own and my clients' journeys of recovering. This book is also for those who do not have CPTSD but want to understand and help a loved one who does. This book also contains an overview of the tasks of recovering and a great many practical tools and techniques for recovering from childhood trauma. Key concepts of the book include managing emotional flashbacks, understanding the 4 different types of trauma survivors, differentiating the outer critic from the inner critic, healing the abandonment depression that comes from emotional abandonment and self-abandonment, self-reparenting and reparenting by committee, and deconstructing the hierarchy of self-injuring responses that childhood trauma forces survivors to adopt. The book also functions as a map to help you understand the somewhat linear progression of recovery, to help you identify what you have already accomplished, and to help you figure out what is best to work on and prioritize now. This in turn also serves to help you identify the signs of your recovery and to develop reasonable expectations about the rate of your recovery. I hope this map will guide you to heal in a way that helps you to become an unflinching source of kindness and self-compassion for yourself, and that out of that journey you will find at least one other human being who will reciprocally love you well enough in that way. And so I've actually started reading this book. It was a book recommended to me by my clinical supervisor as we were talking about a specific childhood experience that one of my clients have experienced. And honestly, the resources in this book, the way everything's explained, is just so helpful. And I would highly recommend any therapist or aspiring therapist or anyone who's gone through trauma to have this book on their bookshelf. Thus far, from what I've read, I'm really happy, and it's just a really insightful book. Again, that book is called Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving. So hopefully as I read these descriptions, you get an understanding of what the book is about, and then you can make your decision about which book you might want to pick up on your own as well. So this next thing is actually a speech. It's not a book, but it was on Audible, and it's from a lady by the name of Diane Poole Heller, who focuses on supporting individuals with understanding attachment styles and healing attachment wounds. And as a therapist who works a lot with relationship issues, an attachment theory is a huge part of my work. And so this speech, again, was downloaded from Audible. I will include the link to that below, and I will also include the link to all of the books that I'm sharing in this video today in my Amazon store in the description box below. So this speech is called Healing Your Attachment Wounds by Diane Poole Heller. She also has a book specifically related to this, but I really love this speech that she gave. And so the summary of this speech, it says, why do we experience recurring struggles in our relationships? And why do traumatic events such as a physical injury, emotional threat, loss of a loved one, or other life crisis so often awaken or amplify a sense of fear, anger, isolation, or helplessness? From our earliest years, teaches Diane Poole Heller, we develop an attachment style that follows us through life, replaying in our intimate relationships with our children and at work. And traumatic events can deeply affect that core relational blueprint. With Healing Your Attachment Wounds, a pioneer in attachment theory and trauma resolution brings together these two fields to help us understand and benefit from their complementary principles and methods. This in-depth audio learning program sheds light on 3 styles of insecure attachment: avoidant, ambivalent, and disorganized, and the ideal 4th style of secure attachment, where we enjoy a foundation of safety, adaptability, and intimacy with others. The good news is that we can change regardless of our early or current life experiences. As we heal and move towards secure attachment, teaches Heller, we become aware of triggers and patterns in our relationships. Our nervous system learns to be more regulated. Things don't throw us off so easily, and we open our capacity to love and experience greater compassion. Through key principles, examples, and practical exercises, this program invites you to begin your own healing journey toward healthy vulnerability, wholeness, and connection with others. So again, this is actually a speech. It's 6 hours and 6 minutes long. She presented this in the past, and honestly, I've been reading it on or listening to it on a daily basis and taking notes. And there are some great examples in this to support my clients, and even that I could do on my own to recognize how much earlier onset experiences have affected people in their lives, and also support you with giving you information on how to repair relationships, and giving you specific exercises that you can either use with your clients, you can use on your own, or you can use with friends and family to support yourself in moving more towards that secure attachment. So this has been a really, really, really great listen to so far. Now, the next books, they're a bit more leisure. And so the next one is called The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I picked this up. If you guys seen my recent mental health day video that I took, I purchased this book but didn't get around to reading much more of the book since that day. And so I've heard so many good things about it. If you guys have read any of these books or plan to read any of these books, comment below and let me know. But the description of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo goes like this. Aging and reclusive Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant for the job, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. Why her? Why now? Monique is not exactly on top of the world. Her husband has left her and her professional life is going nowhere. Regardless of why Evelyn has selected her to write her biography, Monique is determined to use this opportunity to jumpstart her career. Summoned to Evelyn's luxurious apartment, Monique listens in fascination as the actress tells her story. From making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s, to a decision to leave show business in the 80s, and of course, the 7 husbands along the way, Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. Monique begins to feel a very real connection to the legendary star, but as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. So, this right now on Goodreads has a star rating of 4.48, and so I really do want to finish it, and I feel like I'll have it done by the end of July. Now, this other book that I am reading, it's something that I read, like I'll just pick it up randomly and just kind of read a chapter out of it. It's called Life, I Swear, Intimate Stories from Black Women Exploring Identity, Healing, and Self-Trust. And I think I actually want to buy the physical book of this and have this as like a coffee book table, or coffee table book. So that if anybody comes over, if I just feel like picking it up once in a blue moon, I can pick it up and just kind of connect with other women who've experienced challenges around their identity, self-trust, any of that kind of stuff. So far I've really enjoyed even seeing the images in the books and connecting with some of the stories and the messages that these Black women have to share. And so let me just read what this is about. So it's a foreword by Elaine Weltworth in this stunningly illustrated essay collection. Inspired by the popular podcast Life I Swear, prominent Black women reflect on self-love and healing, sharing stories of the trials and tribulations that they faced and what has helped them confront pain, heal wounds, and find connection. This is a mixture of poignant essays, gorgeous photography, and sophisticated design elements. Life I Swear is a chronicle of transformation and growth by and for modern-day Black women. Some of today's most influential female voices chronicle their private journeys, offering testimonies of living through pain and joy with raw honesty and unapologetic self-love. A catalyst for change, this revelatory book builds on the premise of the podcast by diving deeper into themes of mental health, identity, and resilience. Life I Swear is sure to spark lively, thought-provoking, and necessary conversations that encourage Black women to return home to themselves and through self-examination and grace. And I do agree that this has actually sparked some conversation within my own household with my husband. Like, I read some of these stories of women, their experiences, and it's actually like just inspiring to see where they've come from, what they've been through, and also just the lessons that they've taken away from their different experiences. And it's influenced me also to just be more present with my experiences, reflect more on certain situations so that I can learn, understand, and also from my reflections, it will influence how I navigate life moving forward, if that makes sense. So far, I really enjoyed the little essays that I've read from each woman that I've read thus far. I actually never knew there was a podcast called Life I Swear. So I'm actually going to check that out as well. In the case that you guys don't want to pick up the book and you might want to just check into the podcast, again, it's called Life I Swear. And it's about prominent Black women who's reflecting on self-love, healing, and sharing stories of trials and tribulations that they've faced. So far, I loved it. I'm definitely going to get a physical copy of that book. The next book that I would like to read, and I believe this is the final book that I have on my list for this summer. I actually started this book in February, and for some reason, I just wasn't getting into it. I was going back to the Colin Hoover books that I've really been enjoying, and now I'm actually bored of. But this book is called Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Jane Allen, and it is a fiction book, so it's not real, and this is what the book is about. The first novel in a captivating 3-book series about modern womanhood in which a young Black woman must rely on courage, laughter, and love, and the support of her 2 longtime friends to overcome an unexpected setback that threatens the most precious thing she's ever wanted. Tabitha Walker is a Black woman with a plan to have it all. At 33 years old, the checklist for the life of her dreams is well underway. Education, check. Good job, check. Down payment for a nice house, check. Dating marriage material, check, check, and check. With a coveted position as a local news reporter, a paper-perfect boyfriend, and even a standing Saturday morning appointment with a reliable hairstylist, everything seems to be falling into place. Then, Tabby receives an unexpected diagnosis that brings her picture-perfect life crashing down, jeopardizing the keystone she took for granted, having children. With her dreams at risk of falling through the cracks of her checklist, suddenly she is faced with an impossible choice between her career, her dream home, and a family of her own. With the help of her best friends, the irreverent and headstrong Layla and Alexis, the mom jeans wearer, former Sexy Lexi, and the generational wisdom of her grandmother and the nonagerian firebrand Miss Gretchen, Tabby explores the reaches of modern medicine and tests the limits of her relationships, hoping to salvage the future she always dreamed of. But the fight is all-consuming, demanding a steep price that forces an honest reckoning for nearly everyone in her life. As Tabby soon learns, her grandmother's age-old adage just might still be true. Black girls must die exhausted. So that is the final book that I will be reading this summer. I feel like because I've honestly started each book already, I don't know, do y'all read like multiple books at the same time, or do you just focus on one? I feel like I'm usually really good at focusing on one book, but lately as I'm like getting out of this slump, I'm just picking a book up and like taking what I can from each book, and I've been enjoying that. So I'm going through that season right now where I'm just reading multiple books at one time. But that is going to be the last book that I read for the summer. I feel like I can get through all of these by mid-August, and so I might add more. If you enjoy me sharing the books that I plan on reading, please comment below and let me know, because I feel like this is something that I do want to introduce on my channel. Sharing, of course, my therapist related books, and of course just my own leisure books that I want to read. Reading has always been a huge part of my life, and I just kind of want to share that with y'all. So if you're interested, comment below and let me know. Also share below if you read any of those books, which ones you've liked, which ones you didn't really like. Please no spoiler alerts, and if you actually plan on picking up any of these books because of this video, comment below and let me know as well. Thank you all again for clicking on my face, watching another video. I appreciate your support. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I will catch y'all in my next video. Bye y'all.